Welcome to the Whiskey Explorer. Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode, guys. And tonight we are in for a very special treat. We have got a near 30-year-old cask strength Armagnac. This is the 1994 Chateau De Laubaude. Alright guys, so thank you so much first of all to a very good friend of mine and a friend of the channel, Richard, for loaning us this bottle here. This was part of the BC Spirit release in November. I really wanted this bottle, but the price point was quite high. I believe it was about $270 before taxes. And this is the Chateau De Laubaude 1994. It comes in this very beautiful presentation case here. So this is definitely wood, like a wood presentation case, and it's actually not like the cheap balsa wood you often see with Booker's or various other whiskey companies. This is actually a little bit higher end wood. I don't know exactly what it is, but anyways, it's got a very simple construction. You just slide the panel open and it reveals the bottle there. And actually the bottle itself is a very beautiful presentation as well. And I'll show you guys some of the actual bottle in the B-roll. But let's get the bottle out here and onto the cask so we can have that out during the review. So this here is basically, it's a different spirit. First time I've done an Armagnac on the channel. It is kind of, I think of it as a cousin to whiskey. It is actually a type of cognac, but it differs from cognac in that it is a single distillation run. So this goes through just one distillation, whereas cognac goes through two. And the other main difference is that there are different grapes used for Armagnac distillation than there is for cognac. All right, so in the States, you may be able to find like a cask strength Armagnac from Chateau De Laubaude or another company, even with a really good age statement like 15, 20 years old for like around 110, 120 bucks. But here in Canada, I have never seen, like in our area, I've never seen a cask strength Armagnac ever. So I have been on the lookout for one for at least a couple of years. So very grateful and very thankful to get to try this one with you guys here. All right, so this is also, not only is it a beautiful looking bottle, it's very classy looking. This is actually giving us so much information, so full transparency on this one here. Actually, when it was bottled down here. So it's actually bottled in 2023. So just based off of those dates that we know that it's just basically just shy of that 30-year mark. So that's awesome. So cask strength and 30-year-old Armagnac. So that's pretty cool. Just what else to tell you guys about Armagnac really quickly. Armagnac is aged a similar way to whiskey, where it sits in an oak barrel. So it's actually aged in oak barrel after they distill the wine from the grapes. So that's basically how you end up with the spirit of Armagnac. And I have had some Armagnacs, and it has some similar flavors to whiskey. So let's dive into the nose on this one and see if we can pick up any of the usual suspects. So on the nose, cheers. Oh, a quick look in the color in the glass here before we get into that. Definitely just like a really nice kind of medium, kind of trending a little bit towards that copper or mahogany tone. Just a really nice color in the glass. And I should mention the proof on this as well. It is 51.2% alcohol by volume. So it's actually fairly low in terms of proof for a cask strength like that we'd be used to for whiskey. But in terms of actual Armagnac, that is not really low for an Armagnac. So there you have it. Let's go in on the nose here, guys. Cheers. This is actually a little bit subtle on the nose. It's really, it's quite delicate. It's not really jumping out of the glass here at me. Just going to give it a little, just turning the glass around in my hand there just to kind of try to fully coat the glass and see if I can get a better nosing on it here. That woke it up a little bit for sure. Definitely get that grape influence. For me, it's almost like a candied grape, like almost toward artificial, like that grape crush note that I mentioned on the Blanton Straight from the Barrel review. Oh, it's something different in there. So maybe even mixed in with some cherry. Almost like a cherry nibs candy. Very, very nice, inviting nose. Different and subtle and sweet. There's something else there. It's hard to get my, to pinpoint it, but almost like a cotton candy. Grapey. Definitely cherry. Maybe some vanilla going on in the background, and then like there's a nice kind of like tobacco, like a pipe tobacco type note to it. Oh, and strawberries there as well. So very fruity, very welcoming, very sweet, inviting nose. Let's go in for a taste on the palate, guys. Cheers. Okay. Wow, that is really, really different than the other Armagnacs that I've had. The other Armagnacs that I've had have all been 40%. But even at 40%, Armagnac has a lot of flavor. I think more so than a 40% bourbon or other type of whiskey would actually have. In fact, quite a bit more. So this cask strength delivers a huge punch of flavor to the palate. It's almost, I would say this is at the level where it is overwhelming my palate. And so therefore there's a bit of, honestly, a bit of confusion going on in my brain as to exactly what I am tasting. Initially, when I first sipped it, I got like a ton of that wine influence. So like almost like a fortified wine, like maybe like a port or a sherry. Like a sweet wine, but very strong. So like a concentrated, syrupy type form of that. This, you guys will be happy to know if you do get a chance to try a cask strength Armagnac. I'm not sure they're all like this, but I do know that Armagnac is more viscous than cognac typically. So this was fully mouth coating, like a full mouth coating experience for sure. So nice mouthfeel to this. Now we're getting into the more subtle flavors. The finish on this is quite long, so it's like, right now I'm kind of analyzing the finish here. But there's a movement in the mid palate towards like a really like oak hit, like a strong kind of charred oak note, which would make sense. I mean, it's sitting in the barrel for 30 years, so it's or near 30 years. So there's going to be a lot of wind interaction that happens during that time. So a lot of the grape, the wine notes, the sweet fruit, deep dark fruit is in there, but it's more herbaceous and more like kind of strong, almost astringency, so not as sweet as it was on the nose. I'm definitely going to go in for a second sip here, so I know those some pretty rough tasting notes, so I apologize for that, and we'll get some better ones here on the second sip, especially now that my palate has had a chance to acclimate to the flavor bomb that is. So let's go in for another sip here, guys. On the palate, second sip. Cheers. I think for me, better on the second sip. Less of the alcohol hit, like the initial ethanol hit. Tons of flavor. Loads and loads of flavor. So initially there is that oak is actually present right in the arrival as well. So it's like grapey wine note in the beginning. I want to say I'm almost sure these are white wine grapes because it does say Ugni Blanc on there, which my French is terrible, but I know that Blanc is white. But I would describe the characteristic of this wine as more of like a Cabernet Sauvignon or like maybe even towards a Merlot, but like definitely more fruit in there, but lots of oak hit as well. So very strong oak note, especially center palate here. Very oaky. Then there's like a little bit on the finish, there's a little bit of clove. Definitely. And then there's more sweetness that comes at the end of the palate. So now I'm getting like the sweet grape note. Now I can pick up like some strawberry, some stewed fruits in there. it's actually a pretty wild experience. I really, really enjoy it. It's really good, but it's not bourbon and it's not Scotch. It's not any other really type or form of whiskey. I would say I notice a lot more of those similarities in a much lower proof Armagnac than this one. This one is its own beast. This is its own. You can distinctly tell this needs to be in its own category. It doesn't taste like any bourbon or anything that I've had, and I can't really link the notes together like I thought I would. So that's really interesting to me as well. It's quite a journey, very complex, quite a sophisticated dram. And yeah, it's really interesting stuff. So I highly recommend you guys go and try a cask strength Armagnac. Even if you can't pick up a bottle at the bottle shop, you could hopefully try one in a good bar or a pub somewhere. That would be a great thing to do, I think. And this one here is released at 70 CL, so 70 centiliters. So we know that's 700 milliliters. So that would be, of course, a typical European release. And again, price point wise, about 270 Canadian. So that sort of gives you an idea if you're out there shopping for one. This one happens to be an pretty ultra aged one at almost that 30-year mark. So keep that in mind too in terms of pricing. I do think that the lower the age statement on Armagnacs in general is going to be the lower price point. So that'll wrap up this very interesting review of the Chateau De Laubaude cask strength Armagnac. This is the limited release from 1994. So cool to get to try it. Thanks again, Richard. Until next time, may your sails be full and your drams be fuller. Cheers.